Imagine two people who earn the exact same salary. Both make about $80,000 a year. They live in the same city. They're the same age. They graduated from the same college. 10 years later, one of them has a net worth of nearly $1 million. The other is still living paycheck to paycheck. And if you looked at their lives from the outside, you might actually assume the second person is the richer one. They drive the nicer car. They live in the nicer apartment. Their vacations look better on Instagram. But behind the scenes, something very different is happening. And this strange pattern shows up everywhere. Middle-class families earning good incomes, but constantly feeling broke. Promotions that should make life easier, somehow making it more stressful. Raises that disappear almost instantly. But this creates a bigger problem, because most people believe the middle class is the safe place financially. You're not struggling, but you're not ultra-rich either. You're stable, secure, comfortable. But the uncomfortable truth is this. For millions of people, the middle class is actually the easiest place to get financially stuck. And almost nobody talks about this part. My name is Jimmy, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, investing, and the psychology behind how people use it. If you're someone who wants to understand money a little better, consider subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. Now let's talk about something strange that happens when people start earning a decent income. Imagine someone named Daniel. Daniel graduates from college and lands his first job earning $52,000 a year. At first, life feels pretty tight. He has student loans. He rents a small apartment. He drives an old car that occasionally makes noises he pretends not to hear. But something interesting is happening during this phase of his life. Daniel is careful with money. He compares prices. He cooks at home. He thinks before he spends. And here's the part that matters. Daniel still feels like he's working towards something. But then things start improving. A few promotions, a few job switches, and about 7 years later, Daniel is making $95,000 a year. And this is where things get interesting. Because instead of feeling financially free, Daniel somehow feels just as tight on money as he did before. But how is that possible? His income almost doubled. Where did all the extra money go? And this is where most people make a huge mistake. Because the middle class trap isn't about income. It's about lifestyle expansion. Here's the thing. When most people earn more money, they don't just upgrade their savings. They upgrade their lives. Daniel moves into a nicer apartment. His old car finally dies, so he buys something newer. Not a luxury car, just something reasonable. But reasonable today often means a $600 monthly payment. He starts eating out. More. Maybe upgrades his vacations. He signs up for a few subscriptions, gym membership, streaming services, better phone plan. None of these things feel extreme. They all feel normal, responsible even. But something strange starts to happen. His fixed monthly costs slowly creep upward, and almost nobody notices this happening in real time, because each individual decision feels small. But over time, these small upgrades quietly build a financial cage. Now look. Let's run a simple example. Imagine Daniel originally lived on $3,200 per month after taxes. His rent was $1,100. His car was paid off. His lifestyle was fairly simple. Now his income increases, and he starts bringing home $5,200 per month. That's an extra $2,000. Sounds amazing, right? But here's what actually happens. His new apartment costs $2,100. His car payment is $620. Insurance goes up. Eating out increases. Vacation spending increases. Subscriptions add up. And suddenly, his monthly expenses are now $4,800. And here's the trap. Daniel technically earns more money than ever before, but he's not building meaningful wealth because nearly all of his income is committed. And this is where the psychology of money starts playing a huge role. Humans are incredibly good at adapting to higher standards of living. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, which basically means we get used to improvements in our lives very quickly. The new apartment feels amazing for about 3 months. The new car feels incredible for about 6 weeks. Then it just becomes normal. But the payments stay. And the real issue isn't what you think. Because the middle class trap isn't just about spending. It's about identity. Here's what most people don't realize. Lifestyle upgrades are rarely about comfort. They're about signaling. We buy things that match the life we believe we're supposed to have. The nicer apartment, the newer car, the slightly fancier vacations. And none of this happens consciously. It's social pressure operating quietly in the background. Your coworkers upgrade their cars. Your friends move into better neighborhoods. Your social media feed slowly redefines what normal looks like. And before you realize it, your definition of a reasonable life gets more expensive every year. But this creates a bigger problem, because the middle class has access to something dangerous: credit. Now you might be thinking, well, credit cards and loans are normal, and that's true. But credit does something subtle to our brains. It separates the pleasure of buying something from the pain of paying for it. When Daniel swipes a credit card, the purchase feels small. The payment is future Daniel's problem, and banks know this. That's why modern financial systems are built around monthly payments, car payments, phone payments, furniture payments, subscription payments. Everything becomes affordable when you slice it into small monthly pieces. But something strange starts to happen. Your financial flexibility slowly disappears. You can't easily change jobs. You can't easily take risks. You can't easily invest aggressively, because most of your income is already spoken for. And almost nobody talks about this part. The middle class trap doesn't look like financial struggle. It looks like financial stability. From the outside, everything appears fine. But behind the scenes, there's no margin. Now let's return to our original example. Daniel and another person from his college class, someone named Marcus. Marcus earns the exact same salary as Daniel, $95,000 a year. But Marcus made one small decision early on. Every time his income increased, he saved most of the raise, not all of it. He still improved his life a little. But instead of letting his lifestyle rise at the same speed as his income, he slowed it down. And this is where things get interesting, because small gaps between income and lifestyle create something incredibly powerful: investable money. Imagine Marcus invests $1,500 per month into index funds. That's about $18,000 per year. Nothing crazy. No day trading. No crypto speculation. Just simple long-term investing. Now here's the math. If that money compounds at roughly 8% annually, which is close to the historical return of the stock market, after 10 years, Marcus would have around $260,000 invested. After 20 years, about $900,000. And after 30 years, over $2 million. But here's where most people misunderstand this. The difference between Daniel and Marcus isn't intelligence. It isn't luck. It isn't even discipline in the way people imagine. It's simply the timing of lifestyle upgrades. Marcus delayed them. Daniel accelerated them. And those small decisions quietly change the trajectory of an entire financial life. But this story goes deeper, because something fascinating happens when people build wealth slowly. At first, nothing seems to change. For the first few years, investing feels boring. Your portfolio grows slowly. You question whether it's worth it. Meanwhile, the people around you might appear to be living better lives. But something strange starts to happen around year 10. Compound growth begins accelerating. And this is where it gets interesting, because investments eventually start generating meaningful income on their own. Dividends, capital gains, market growth. Your money begins working, and almost nobody experiences this if they're trapped in constant lifestyle expansion, because they never accumulate the capital required to start the process. Now you might be thinking, okay, but enjoying life is important too. And that's absolutely true. The goal isn't to live like a monk. But here's the key insight. Wealth is not built by extreme sacrifice. It's built by small gaps. A gap between income and spending. A gap between social pressure and personal choices. A gap between short-term comfort and long-term freedom. And those gaps create optionality. Optionality is one of the most powerful financial advantages in the world. It means you can walk away from a bad job. It means you can start a business. It means you can take a year off. It means you can make decisions based on what you want, instead of what your monthly payments require. But the middle class trap quietly removes optionality, not through poverty, through commitments, car payments, large mortgages, lifestyle expectations. And this is where most people make a huge mistake. They assume wealth is built through high income. But income alone rarely creates wealth. Plenty of doctors, lawyers, and executives earn hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. and still feel financially trapped. Because wealth is about ownership, ownership of assets, ownership of investments, ownership of businesses. And those things require surplus money, money that isn't already spent. Now, here's something even more interesting. The middle class trap actually gets stronger as income increases, because higher earners have access to bigger financial upgrades, larger homes, luxury vehicles, private schools, country clubs, and each of those upgrades quietly increases the financial baseline of life. Suddenly, maintaining the lifestyle requires enormous income, and stepping off that treadmill becomes incredibly difficult. But there's a turning point in this story, and it usually starts with a simple realization. The goal of money isn't to look successful, it's to become free. Now look, imagine Daniel wakes up one day and notices something uncomfortable, despite earning nearly 6 figures. He has very little net worth. His savings account is thin, his retirement account is small, and most of his income disappears each month. But this moment of awareness changes something, because financial change rarely begins with spreadsheets. It begins with perspective. Daniel starts asking different questions. Instead of asking, "What can I afford monthly?" he starts asking, "What will this cost me in 10 years?" And that one shift changes everything, because the true cost of lifestyle inflation isn't the payment, it's the lost investment opportunity. A $700 monthly car payment isn't just $700. If invested for 25 years at 8%, it could become roughly $650,000. Now suddenly the decision looks different, but this is where things get interesting. Because the most powerful financial move is rarely dramatic. It's simply resisting upgrades that don't truly improve your life. Keeping a car longer, living slightly below your means, ignoring certain social pressures. None of these choices feel impressive, but over decades, they quietly build enormous financial power. And this leads to a final thought that almost nobody considers. The middle class trap isn't created by greed, it's created by comfort, a comfortable life that slowly becomes too expensive to escape. But the people who eventually build wealth learn something subtle. They design their lifestyle around freedom, not appearances. They focus on flexibility. They invest early. They allow compound growth to do the heavy lifting. And over time, something fascinating happens. Their money begins creating choices, not just things. Because at the end of the day, wealth isn't measured by what you own. It's measured by how much control you have over your time. And the people who escape the middle class trap eventually realize this simple truth. The goal was never to look rich. It was to stop needing to pretend.